Some of the bridges on the Caminos have very interesting stories. Stay tuned as we find out about them. Perhaps the most important bridge, and the bridge that we must include first in this video, has a town named after it. Yep, you've probably already guessed what it is: Ponferrada. The history of Ponferrada on the Camino Frances is linked to the Camino de Santiago from its very origins. The town developed as a settlement on the road to Santiago in the Middle Ages. In the 11th century, the bishop from Astoria, who was in charge of the area, ordered the building of a bridge over the river Sil to help the pilgrims cross the river on their way to Santiago de Compostela. Iron reinforcements were later added to the ancient bridge, giving the city its current name. You see, the word Ponferrada comes from the Latin pons ferrata, meaning iron bridge. The original village was called Puebla de San Pedro, or St. Peter's Village. The rocky hill above the town is where the Knights Templars built a castle, which became home to the monks and lords. Today, Ponferrada, in the heart of the El Bierzo Valley and surrounded by mountains, is the last big city on the Camino Frances before Santiago. This next bridge has a fascinating legend attached to it. The bridge is located in the village of Zubiri in Navarra. The village is about halfway between Roncesvalles and Pamplona. The name Zubiri means village of the bridge in Euskara, the Basque language. The name of the bridge, Puente de la Rabia, translates in English as rabies bridge. Yep. Rabies, that disease that causes encephalitis in humans and animals. According to the legend, animals passing under the bridge's arches would be miraculously healed of any illness, including rabies, hence the bridge's name. So here's the story. Legend has it that back in the 11th century, the locals were working on the construction of the bridge over the river Arga in the town of Zubiri. They were trying to lift the central pillar, but couldn't do so. It wouldn't sink into the river bottom. It seems that there was something on the floor of the river that was preventing them from doing so. They tried to dig deeper to accommodate the pillar, but found a surprise. Wrapped in perfumed wrappings, they discovered the remains of a young woman. It was the corpse of Santa Quiteria, the protector of rabies. They wanted to transfer her remains to the cathedral of the Kingdom of Navarre, but en route, their mules stopped and wouldn't budge. The crew thought that it was heaven's decision that Santa Quiteria should remain forever in Zubiri. The next bridge we're going to visit is found in the capital city of the province of Orense, Galicia. It's the medieval footbridge, the Ponte Vella. The name Ponte Vella is Galician for Old Bridge. This is a very old bridge. It was built by the Romans in the 1st century CE. It's undergone several restorations over the centuries, but the foundation remains original. At one time, it was considered to be the biggest bridge in all of Spain. It crosses the Minho River and provides access to the old city of Orense for both trade and pilgrimage to Santiago. As you cross the footbridge and enter the old city, you will see off to the left a large field with a chapel in it. This is the Capella de la Nosa Señora dos Remedios. It's in the Galician language, and it means Chapel of Our Lady of the Remedies. The field where the chapel was built was a very famous site for dueling and earned the name Campo del Desafío, or the Field of Challenge. In 1522, Francisco Méndez Montoto, who was a knight of the habit of San Juan, built the chapel in the field so that the land would be respected and the bad practices that were carried out there would hopefully cease. It was also built to protect the pilgrims that were traveling to Santiago from the bandits in the area. Our last bridge to visit in this video is the Puente del Burgo. The Burgo Bridge is located on the north edge of Pontevedra on the Camino Portuguese. Pontevedra is my favorite town on this Camino. It's Galicia's second most important historic center after Santiago de Compostela. The city is an important stopover on the Portuguese Camino with so many things to see, including the circular church of the Pilgrim Virgin, built for the pilgrims in the 18th century. It has a floor plan in the shape of a scallop shell. After you get your serio at the church, you exit, you make a right turn, and you head toward the bridge. The Romans built the original bridge in the 1st century CE. It was maintained over the centuries, but then reconstructed during the 12th century. As you approach the bridge, take a close look at the arches. You will see the famous pilgrim shell carved into the granite pillars. This past year, I took Mr. Fred a drone with me on the caminos that I walked. It was really nice to have Fred to put up in the air and get videos up close of cathedral towers and bridges and castles. When I was in Pontevedra, I got some great videos and put together this clip, and I posted it on my Facebook page. I'll share it now with you. Located in the heart of the Rías Baixas area of Galicia is Pontevedra. It's on the upper portion of the Camino Portuguese, just 64 miles from Santiago, which is about 4 to 6 days of walking. Pontevedra has a really nicely restored historical center. This place is well worth taking a rest day because there's just so much to see. In the center of the historic area is the Peregrina Virgin Sanctuary. Built in the 18th century, it's dedicated to the patron saint of the Portuguese Camino. Notice how the base of the structure is fashioned to resemble a scallop shell, the symbol of the Camino. Definitely stop here and get a stamp. The ruins of San Domingos are a remnant of a 12th century church and convent. While much of the structure is in ruins, enough of it still remains so you can get a feel for what it must have been like over 900 years ago. As a pilgrim, you'll leave Pontevedra via the Ponte de Burgo, which is the bridge that goes over the river Lerep. About 3 kilometers down the Camino Trail, you're going to be faced with a decision. The trail forks. If you take the right fork, you're going to be going straight to Santiago. But if you take the left fork, you're going to go to the spiritual variant, which, in my opinion, is the better choice. I'll leave you now with some pictures of this route so you can get a better idea of what it's like. Well, we've crossed a few bridges in this video, but it's time to wind it down and get onto some music. But first, like the past videos on statues and monuments, bridges on the Camino merits a part 2. Don't you think so? Therefore, I'm going to ask you, my pilgrim friends, what are some bridges that left impressions on you? Please leave me some suggestions in the comments below, and I can include them in part 2. Music time. There's one song that immediately comes to mind when talking about bridges. Yep, you've probably guessed it. I've arranged it for 4 French horns, and it is Bridge Over Troubled Water. Please enjoy.